Okay, thank you guys for joining. So we're looking at, now I won't be on this page looking at the comments. I'll be on the other page talking about. So what is Sukkot? Sukkot is a Jewish holiday, and it is celebrated by taking off work, meaning doing no work, and it's celebrated within a hut, or the loose word of hut would be a tent, and it's and waving unusual bouquets. The bouquets would be something called the four kinds. Okay, the Sukkot is a holiday. The Sukkah is what you rest in or what you stay inside of. Okay, so that is the basic about that. Um, why this thing is always into birds, I don't know. So hold on, I'm not. Oh, what? They're always doing videos. They need to stop that. So what is Sukkah? So what a sukkah is, or a sukkah, is a temporary hut, usually made of wood or bamboo or sticks with like a tent. It's an outdoor. So let me show you the picture. So here's the picture, if you can see that right, of a sukkah. Okay. It is a temporary hut constructed for use during the week-long Jewish festival of Sukkot. Okay, and it is topped with branches and often well decorated with many different things. It is very earthly decorated with many flowers, many plants, and things like that. Okay, so what is the significance of the Sukkot? Okay, the typical explanation of Sukkot is that it symbolizes the booths or the tents in which the Israelites or the Israel people dwelled in during their journey through the desert, talking about when Moses came and Moses helped to deliver through God's power the Israelites from Egypt, right? As they were traveling through the desert, this is what they stayed in. So this holiday of Sukkot is kind of like celebration of that God led them through the deserts and took care of them in the dry desert areas. So on Passover, they eat matzah, which is a special bread, I think, because our ancestors ate matzah when they left Egypt. And on Sukkot, we reside in the booths to commemorate or to respect those those in which they lived for 40 years. Now, we don't have to live in the Sukkot for 40 years, but that's what that is about. Okay, and the word Sukkot or Sukkoth, Sukkoth, Sukkos, Sukkot, or Sukkos. Hebrew Sukkot means huts or booths, and it's used for the festival of the tabernacles as well as a feast. Sorry, the feast of the tabernacles, as well as the feast of the booths. So let me show you this picture they have here. So you see, they have like some sort of man-made tent that's usually outside or someplace. There's a table, and everybody gathers around it and celebrates within that. Okay, and it happens after Yom Kippur, and it begins tomorrow, the 29th of September, and it goes until Friday, the 6th of October. Okay, this year, and that is when the Sukkot celebration happens. Okay. And they have special Sukkot crafts on this website. They have many Sukkot recipes that you can make. They have stories, okay, all about the Sukkot, which is the holiday, okay. And to observe the Sukkot, okay. So how do you observe the Sukkot? On Sabbath, many Jews build a sukkah, which is a small hut. Jews eat and sometimes even sleep in the booth during Sukkot. And it's a way of commemorating the time that Israel spent in the wild, in the huts, in huts of their own, after being freed from the slavery of Egypt. So how do they celebrate Sukkot, you ask? Simple. They celebrate by dwelling within this booth and by taking together the 4 kinds from special species of vegetation. Okay? So what are the 4 species? Okay. So they tie together a bunch of 4 species, 4 different things. So they tie together what is called the 4 species or the 4 winds or the 4 kinds. And the species they use is a lulav, which is a palm branch, a hadass, which is myrtle, okay, a rav, which is willow, and etrog, which is citron or some sort of fruit. So when you get done with it, it ends up looking like this. You have the 4 different like long stalk looking things, and then you have this also this like greenish or even yellowish fruit like thing that they eat. And here's another picture of it where everything's tied together and bound together. Okay. And those are named the 4 kinds. Okay. So what is the purpose of the 4 kinds, you might ask? The 4 types of vegetation are taken every day of the holiday of Sukkot. Every single day they grab it. So it's a palm frond, which a palm stick, I guess, a citron, which is the fruit, myrtles and willows. So 4 different things. Okay. And the 4 kinds, the 2 willows, the lulav, the 2 willows, the myrtle, and the etrog. The first 3 kinds are neatly bundled together. That's the long stick things. Okay. Your vendor can assemble it for you, and then once they get done with that, so they just give explanations of like what this does. For men, it's an obligation. They have to do it. For women, it's optional, but not encouraged to do. I mean, it's optional, but it's encouraged. Okay. And the best place for doing this is mitzvah, which means seems to be creating a bond between God and man. And the sukkah is the booth or hut in which you stay. And then they have prayers that they say. I can't say this prayer, but basically what you're saying is, "Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us regularly, taking the lulav." And then they pick up the etrog, which is the fruit in the left hand, on the first day of Sukkot, or the first time on Sukkot you get to do this. They say, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this occasion." They bring the lulav and the etrog, so the sticks and plants and the fruit together. Then you've done the mitzvah. And then they have a custom is to wave the things in all 6 directions: south, north, east, west, up and down. Okay. All around you, basically. And this is done at morning services as well. They wave them again during the Hilah prayer, the Hillel prayer, which means the 4th step of the Passover prayer. And then they parade them around the synagogue during the ceremony, known as Hasha Anat. If you do not do this, if you do not do this, so in the morning, you can do this mitzvah every day of Sukkot. So what time doesn't really matter all that much. Jewish unity is one of the central themes of Sukkot. So the unity of the Jewish culture. The 4 kinds you are holding symbolize 4 types of Jews with different levels of Torah knowledge. Torah means the first 5 books of the Old Testament. So in other words, the 4 different types of Jews that have different understanding of the first 5 books of the Bible and the observances of that. And then they bring them together, representing the unity of Israel as a nation, of Jewish people as a nation, despite the external differences, meaning despite what exact tribe you're from or what you may look like, all Jews join together in this. So in the spirit of unity, be sure to share your Arba Menim with your Jewish friends and fellows. So I guess share this time, okay? Or share this thing with everybody else. And that's the basic of it for the most part of the lulav, the 4 kinds, okay? And they just basically spend the time in the tent, is basically. So it's kind of similar to like, I guess the best way to explain this would be like this. It would be the equivalent of you spending a week camping out and tenting in order to draw closer to God, in order to respect that the fact that the Jewish culture of Israel, the Jewish people, had to spend their time in the desert in tents constantly with no actual home. So in a way, you're saying, hey, we respect that our ancestors, traveled so far for 40 years in the desert. You never really had a home. You had to spend it in tents. So we're sharing in your suffering, sharing in your simplicity, and we're respecting what you had to go through. Okay, so that's the basics of that particular thing. And but then aside from that, they just have like tons of like eating and fellowship and spending time with each other and everything like that. So that's the basic thing of the sukkot, of the purpose of the sukkot, and why sukkot is the holiday that it is, and what it represents, and what they usually do on it, for the most part. Okay. So I hope that gives anybody who's watching a better understanding of what sukkot is. So I will see you guys later. Have a blessed day and take care.